after an intense last 2 rounds that have challenged the patience of the Nissans and the resilience of the Audis. The hits just keep on coming this week with the Brands Hatch GP layout, another challenging multi-class circuit. Whose fortitude of will is strong enough to withstand 3 straight weeks of brutal 90s IMSA action? And will someone put a stop to Valenteus and Reed, bringing them closer back to the pack? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 8 of the iRacing IMSA Vintage series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and with me in the booth is Craig King. Our director is Christian Deploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. The Brands Hatch GP circuit has seen almost every type of car race around it over the last century, and to find out what makes this place special, let's take you down to our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Brands Hatch. When popular British racing circuits get listed, this track just to the southeast of London often finds itself near the top. The extensive history of the venue has meant that many famous names in racing have ran laps here. But the stats make it sound deceptively simple, with the Grand Prix and Indy course having 9 and 6 turns respectively. Laps might be short, but they're also fast, and the corners are often a challenge to get right. As you'd expect, that means passing is quite difficult, with most drivers leaning towards sending one up the inside at Druids. You might occasionally see overtakes into the first corner, Paddock Hill Bend, but the blind apex and gigantic drop in elevation make that an errand for only the brave. Many of the corner names pay tribute to famous British drivers from the past decades, such as Hill, Surtees, Sterling, and Clark. In fact, the fame extends beyond the drivers, but to the cars as well, with this place seeing everything from Formula 1 to Formula 4, touring cars, GT cars, motorcycles, and even rallycross. It's a gorgeously scenic venue where lush trees envelop the back half of the course, while the front half is mostly encapsulated inside a natural amphitheater. This makes it extremely popular with race fans who can see a majority of the circuit from many seating positions. With a great location near a major metropolitan hub, a spectator-friendly layout, and an experience that challenges drivers, you can see why this place remains abuzz with racing to this day.
Well, Craig, this place is a legendary track, but talk to us about how the IMSA Vintage cars are going to handle this.
Well, Adam, the track might say 9 turns, but Brands Hatch feels a lot more, with a lot of action to be had on the track, with tight elevation changes, tight track spaces, and a battle of 2 halves out there today. And when you get to the back half of the track, it really is a real challenge. And with all those medium speed corners, you would think the GTPs would love the track, apart from that bit. The moment you get to Westfield and Sheens, those Nissans will start to fight you. You need to take all the speed off, but keep all the speed up without going down the gears. You go down the gears, you could blow your engine. For the GTOs, it is a real pain overall. The elevation changes do force the Audis to really slow down because you need to get the nose pointed, and that is the biggest task today, as down the drops of Paddock Hill, Graham Hills, and up the hill of Sheens will throw momentum out the window. And with that speed difference does come multi-class racing, which will be a bit of an issue around here because of those speed differences and that tighter track. Now, don't expect to see many late moves into corners today. Really, only corners like Druid, Surtees, and Clark. They're places that you would expect those moves, but from Hawthorne down to Sheens, it's all the name of patience. And while, Adam, this is a track that drivers do love, today is a full house. 55 cars around this tight British countryside. Now, on both sides of the track, it's the A20 and the M20. Today, you'd be mistaken into thinking Brands Hatch is both of those roads.
Absolutely, and one thing that is not mistaken is the leads of our 2 championship leaders. Let's start with the GTPs. Jacob Reed currently leads in the GTPs by 31 points over Jack Wells. Jack has been strong this season, getting top 5s most of the races. Seamus Power and his consistency continues to plow forward and lead himself on to the podium in a 3rd position. Then it's very tight between Farron Grau and Cal Young battling for 4th, and then Antti Lapisto has very good company from 6th all the way back to Ardo Iamaki down in 9th, and Brendan Lim's only 4 points off of Iamaki down in 10th, so from 6th down to 10th. Very tight battle there in the GTPs, but what about the GTOs, Craig?
Well, it looks like a close battle. It's not a close battle. Valenteus has won all but 1 race this season, and drop weeks will start to be in effect shortly. So that means Van Hicks has to kind of hope he can make some ground but that's not possible. He is battling Noah Lundberg, and Lundberg does have some worse results out there. So when the drop weeks get factored in, expect those two to be mixing it up. Mickey Friesen, though, knocking behind in fourth. But very tough for him. He's in a battle with Andreas Schuster, something he's used to, but not Doug Cloud. You've got to keep your eyes out there. Doug Cloud in a really good position here to even just battle for the best of the rest out there for this season. So will be interesting to see that rest of the top 10. They're starting to pull away. This is one of the first times I've seen it for a while, Adam. The top 10 are starting to pull away from the rest of the field. I think the gap between 10th and 11th is just 5 points. I've not seen it that big for a long time in the GTOs.
Absolutely. So a little bit of dominance going on, and these last couple of rounds of intensity have really made things tight in the championship standings. We are on round 8 now of 12 for this series. 40 minutes out there at Brands Hatch GP with open setups for the drivers, so they can set the car however they like or dislike, depending on their preference. They've got no spare vehicle out there, and you're going to wish you had one with 55 cars out here. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and disqualification at 25. I would not be surprised to see some people fall afoul of that today at all. We're now into the thick of qualifying out there today. It's 70 degrees Fahrenheit on track. It's 21 Celsius. And these drivers are also going to be dealing with a very light wind, about 2 miles an hour out of the southwest. So not much weather to be concerned about out there, and decent track temperatures as well, Craig.
Yeah, decent track temperature, 21 Celsius, 70 Fahrenheit. That's going to be good. I've had the Julio Reyna just take the fastest lap away. That's a name we haven't seen for a while. Even the humidity is pretty good out there today, 48%. Really looking good. Jack Wells, championship leader. He makes his way by. To see how we see Lesniak in pole for the GTOs. Javier Del Olmo P1, well, P1 when Lesniak, sorry, P2. As we just see Jack Wells coming out of these final corners. These are the tough corners of the track. You come to the final one, a little bit of elevation on the exit here of Clark Curve. Remember, Brands Hatch is a track where every corner name is named after a driver with history in F1 and motorsport. He'll come across the line. I don't know that counted. That's an off track.
Yeah, unfortunately for Noel, he's going to have to go around again, and Noel Lundberg Noel Lundberg is the one who just got provisional pole position, so he jumps up to up ahead of Javier Del Olmo by about a tenth and a half. To nobody's surprise, well, actually, I was going to say that Valenteus wasn't going to qualify, but I think he's changing his mind with a couple minutes left in qualifying to go. He's now out starting his first couple laps. With the amount of GTOs we have here today, I think last to first might not be possible, but I kind of wish he'd give it a try, Craig.
I would love to see him give it a try. I was watching the Wednesday night race, 40, just the middle of 40 cars out there. As you see Noel Lundberg coming down the hill. And that was a track, that was a race where there wasn't a lot of free space. I think the biggest gap I saw was the GTP leader was able to get one lap at the end of the race clean. But that was it. It was very tough out there because drivers will fall off. It is a battle of attrition. One thing that's also interesting to point out, though, Adam, it's an even split here, as even you can get with an odd number of 55. Usually we see quite a oversize, overbalance on one side. If you had the scales today, it is absolute dead set. That's going to be very interesting. Noah Lundberg will try it and set more laps. Valenteus comes out the first lap. He had an off track. Is he doing this on purpose, maybe?
Probably. I will say it's worth mentioning, and Craig alluded to it. This is not a split race. This went to the maximum cap of 55 drivers for this series, just upon entrance alone. So we have a big swing in iRatings out here today, which is going to make this race very interesting. And it is, like Craig said, miraculous that it split down the middle, GTPs and GTOs. We were used to seeing that back when we did splits with the old iRacing math, but with the new math, it's been we've seen a little bit of a leaning towards one class or the other depending on the amount of entrants. But out here today, an even split with a full house just on pure entries alone. 55 drivers decided to take to the track today at Brands Hatch GP. We're watching Andres Valenteus, current points leader in the GTOs, going around doing what may be a qualifying lap, what may be practice laps, but this second lap is looking better and cleaner. We'll see if he takes it off track right here at the end.
No, he's going to do a drift. He's going to do a drift.
Let's see.
There's your answer.
So, and into the pits. All right. So he's not going to set his qualifying time. Very interesting. So now we take a look at Ove Trangrade in 9th position. Can he improve on this final lap? 47 seconds to go in qualifying. A little dip into the grass. Was that enough to get an off track?
No, I don't think it will be as he comes through Graham Hill. It's got this weird AstroTurf. I've never understood why they did it, but to allow the driver to keep some speed, that's going to be an off track. That's going to be an off track coming on the exit, though, of Surtees. It's a double apex. It's a late double apex type corner, and you want to be really careful around Surtees. That's why I mentioned it as one of the overtaking corners. He is going to keep on going for some time. In fact, this isn't a lap that will count. He's already ahead. Just looking around, every driver has taken laps. This allows Olsen just doing some testing. Look at the speed he's trying to carry there through Sheens. Very tough corner, but you need to get on the throttle to be fast there to set yourself up for Sterling. Could make an overtake. Even in multi-class could be a bit risky.
And just to make the statistics even more interesting, 3 GTPs and 3 GTOs did not qualify. So even numbers there as well. But let's take you down to the grid here for the beginning of this race. It is going to be Yuno Reina who's going to take pole position over Togo Hisada. And then it's going to be Nick Makanos in 3rd spot. Tucked in with Jacob Reed on row 2. Farron Grau's going to start off row 3 with Jack Wells, and Arno Iamaki and Brendan Lim on row 4. Jeff Drake and Justin Heroder is going to round out row 5 and the last of the top 10 runners. Then it's Andrew Medell who's joining us once again. It's been a while since we've seen him. Laust Olsen's going to line up in 12th position with Dylan Freckleton in 13th next to Xavier Sanchez, who makes his return to the series. Alec Campbell as well returning in 15th position with Henrik Schweibig, who has raced here a couple times this season, joining us once again. Davide Ricciardi is going to join us in 17th with Seamus Power in 18th position. Ilka Kodasalo, not a good qualifying for him, down in 19th, with Matthew Cockram joining us as well again to round out the top 20. We're still going. 21st driver is going to be Mikhail Rugenbrick, who's going to line up next to Mateo Johnson. Then Andre Felipe Diaz in 23rd, next to Howie Burrows in 24th. Last qualifier is Jarl Brupacher, who's going to line up in 25th. And then we've got Ray Farlow, Carl Giagrande, and Tom Smith, who round out your 28 GTPs here today.
I gotta say, Adam, if you're talking it like that, it sounds like we're doing the top 20, the top 30 of the singles chart. So in at number 1 is Noel Lundberg for the GTOs. He's gonna have Johan Van Hicks right beside him, and Javier Del Olmo got pipped at the line there. He will take 3rd with Mickey Friesen in 4th. Lesniak had a really good time. He was in 5th, and Jack David Spickett is tied with him. But as Lesniak said at first, he will be 5th. Doug Cloud will take 7th, and then it's Timothy Reed into 8th with Ove Trengarade 9th, and Mark Gamak returns in to 10th. My second page will start with Josh Brain in at 11, and then it'll be John Pettick there in 12th with Ian Haycox in 13th. Marty Ollie will take 14th, and then it's Eliminio Dicciari in 15th with Fabian Youngblood down in 16th. Martin Kraychuk with an unfortunate 17th with Max Wheeler in 18th. Pablo Rangel will take 19th with Mika Tupola in 20th. One more page, and I'm still not on the same breath here, but 21 will be Martin Enrique Revert. Jack Burgess will take 22nd. Atalan Hark will take 23rd. Genesis Williams will be 24th. And that's the last of the time qualifiers, as Valenteus will be 25th. Henry Viramaki will be 26th, and Carl Glover will be 27th. 27 GTOs in 28 GTP. Did we mention it's a full house today?
55 evenly split, 3 non-qualifiers in both classes. These drivers are going to have a crazy time out there today. There's not going to be a lot of room anywhere on track, and that first time through the GTOs, Craig, I am very concerned about the amount of chaos we're going to have.
So I'm just going to give a shout out right now to our director, Christian Deploy, who, when there's usually a little bit of a bigger split here, he usually has a bit of a headache when it comes to action, and especially when me and Adam's also looking at different areas of the track. You may see in this broadcast today that one of us may interrupt the other one because we're looking at so many different things out here today. It's one of those that if you wanted to see how a director, how a broadcaster, how a commentator does this, it's impossible. There are 5 eyes, 6 eyes. We need eyes in the back of our head to work this out today. I'm not looking forward to that first time through traffic. It's going to be very grouped up today.
Yeah, and to the drivers, we apologize. We're not going to be able to get to everything, but we're going to try and get to as much as we can while still telling the story of the race. Yuho Reina is going to be the pole position driver with Togo Hisada on his outside. Nick Makanos going to line up in that black GTP tucked in behind him with Jacob Reed, our current leading driver in the GTP Championship, in 4th position. They're coming through into the last couple of turns now, out of the forest section and back into the park. And it's going to be an interesting start to this race. Yuo Reina has not raced with us much before, and so a good driver to put a challenge to the rest of the field, and a driver for whom nobody knows when they're going to start. Did they start on the flag? Did they start early? It's going to be a very interesting chance here. Reina, Hisada, Makanos, Reed, Grau, Wells, Iamaki. The Porsche pace car pulls off into the pit lane, and Reina goes immediately, catching the entire field off guard, but especially Toko Hisada. Nick Makanos on the inside is going to take the sweeping move and get into that 2nd position as they go through turn 1. It's fairly free and clear for the GTPs.
GTOs, they haven't even got through the final corner, and finally into Clark they go. And Van Hicks almost had a run because they had to start almost in Sterling. Could not get the move. You can see side around the back. Could almost go 3 wide here. The number 6, the Jack David Pickett, trying to get in side by side with Mickey Friesen. He may get that move stuck, but there's going to be very tight. They're all clear at the moment. A couple drivers going around in the background, but everyone's keeping fine. Mateo Johnson and the GTOs has had a spin at the start of the race. Jack David Pickett up to P4.
All the GTPs still facing forward right now. Tom Smith and Carl Giagrande having a little bit of trouble at the back of the pack, but all the GTPs very clean, very forward. The GTOs struggling a little bit more through the opening section, especially because they started before the final corner. But the GTOs, everyone being fairly measured at this point as well. We do have a spinner. Toga Hisada actually has gone around from the front of the grid and is going to have to go straight to the back.
Yep, he actually just caught a bit too much off the outside curve coming out of Westfield there, and he lost control, but we're keeping our eye on Jack David Pickett as he's trying to hold to whatever position he can. He's in this P4. Really good starts in the season so far for Jack. He really gets that first 20 minutes. He excels, but at the back half of the track of the race, he is having a little bit of issue. I think maybe just having some problems trying to keep up to the pace and save those tires. But this is the chance for him right now. He's right behind Javier Del Olmo, former champion. Maybe he can just hold on to it, but he's braked a little bit later, and that's caught him out.
Absolutely. So Jack's going to lose a little bit of speed here. He's going to have to put some more pressure onto Javier Del Olmo. Mickey Friesen has spun around on the front straightaway. This is an unusual place to have a problem. So Friesen falling back into the clutches of the rest of the pack and goes back behind Audrius Valentinius, who didn't qualify, and is already up, I believe it's 7 positions.
It's 7 position. Now, one person did not take the start. One person has towed. So it's very interesting. This is the Lesniak. He's had a bit of a slide. They are losing control here. That's a really weird place. Coming out of the Druids there to have a bit of a spin. He's managed to control that car, but he has now gone down all the way to 12th, I want to 13th, sorry, as the timing tower updates for myself there. Very interesting to see what he can do, because now he's in the clutches of Brain, Youngblood, Dechari, Rangel, Crater, in Haycock there up ahead. That's a tough field to get around, but now he's down 8 positions and Mickey Friesen's down 15 as we see a winner from earlier this week on Wednesday night, one of the hot splits. That's Andrew Riddell. He's having a little bit of a trouble out there. It's not so easy when you're in the front of when you're in the pack.
Absolutely. He was stuck on the outside and then took the inside, the shallower line of the corner. Oh, Nick Makanos from 2nd position is around in the GTPs. There he is. There's Togo Hisada with his spin earlier on. Nick Makanos had a similar moment. I believe it might have been some contact with a GTO, but Nick Makanos takes a tow.
Yeah, I think he's actually had some issues there, because I see Revert has had Martin Enrique Revert is also but no, I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to look at that later on. But this is Jacob Reed. Now, you don't expect Jacob Reed. They're already into traffic here, Adam. This is back markers. They're already into some traffic. It's not the full back. Jacob Reed, not the start you would expect from him at the moment. He is P4. But Jack Wells, all of a sudden, is P2. Baron Grau's still P3. Just those one moments that just really caused them issues, as Makanos is in the pits.
Side by side between Dustin Herroder and Brendan Lim for 6th position. Herroder got a better run off of the final corner. He's going to streak in front of Brendan Lim, cut off that nose and keep the downforce off of his nose going into this downhill section. You need that in the GTBs in order to take that turn at as best speed as you can. Laust Olsen still trying to get back into the swing of things after taking a couple of seasons off. Back here in the 8th position as they're going past Carl Glover in the GTO machine. There is Carl in the white machine. I can report that Nick Makanos got hit by a rejoining or attempting to rejoin GTO. We're going to see it right here. It's going to be on the inside of the corner, and he backs up into the racing line.
We've just lost Ove Trengerade as well. Now, I'm not entirely sure. Ove just had a really silly rejoin there. We'll look at it later. On board with Andrew Medell. So that's a few more we've lost and a few big names we've lost. As Medell trying to get back in, trying to get into the top 10. Sorry, he started 11th. Speed differences with some of the slower cars up ahead as well, really causing some issues as Medell tried to just get a move onto Freckleton, unable to because of that Atalan Hart GTO coming on by. He's going to have to redo this all again, but there are some names that I know from what he was telling me. He turned around to me today and said, I don't know some of these drivers. And I'm like, Andrew, these are some vintage drivers in IMSA Vintage here. He's just not used to the challenge.
Absolutely, and now we have our leaders in the GTPs getting into the thick of the GTO traffic. A lot of our lower placed GTOs right now do not know the standard of this series, which is the GTOs drive their normal racing line, the GTPs find a way around. Some nice battles going on here mid-pack. Jacob Reed trying to find a way to go around Farron Grau on the outside. They have the GTOs coming up here, and look at this. He's got a streaker on the outside of everybody. What a move from Reed.
What a move from Reed. Well, we were looking at Medell battle as well. I'd keep an eye on that. All the GTPs had to go 3 wide going into Surtees. But this is the battle you're keeping an eye at now, because now Reed's got that over Grau, and Grau's on the defense. Hiramaki's right behind. Valenteus, they're just coming up to, by the way. Quick note on Valenteus, 13 places. He's halfway up the field. It's lap 5. They're going to do about 30 laps out there today. Oh. He's already there. And look how tight it is. This is Reed going to have to try and go around the outside. He's going to try and split and move. Could not make it. Top 3. All battling right now. Call it the top 4. This is lap 6. That is what the traffic has done. Somebody's going to try and make a move. They do not. Window is left open. Can't be made. Who's the better of the late breakers when it comes into Druid? It's none of them. They're just getting through safely.
Dylan Freckleton had a major incident. He's got significant damage. He's going to go backwards. So a little bit of a contact there between Aru Iamaki and Marty Ollie going through the hairpin there. And look at this, the top 4 trying to streak their way through this GTO field. You can see Yuo Reina trying to take the best lines he possibly can. Jack Wells very tight underneath. Jack Wells is in second position in the championship. Jacob Reed behind him is in first position in the championship. So Jack's not going to want to let Jacob by. Jack's going to look up the inside of Yuo, and through the sweeping right-hander, he's going to make a little bit of side-to-side contact with him. He's going to try and take this position away, but it's going to be a little bit of a hell no. Yuo Reina crosses his nose, and there goes Reed. Reed into the lead as Reina and Wells wreck.
Yeah, they wrecked. Wells is still going, though, but he's down into 6th position after all that. And it was Reina just turning in a bit too early there, and it's just unfortunate. And now all that work that you saw Reed do, and Wells do, sorry, he's going to have to redo it. Who got by cleanly, though? Oh, it's only the man who is one of the best drivers in a Formula car on iRacing. It's Jacob Reed. He has a lead. He has a big lead now, but this is Reina. He's got damage on the rear. That will affect the top speed, especially on a track like this. He's going to struggle, and he's going to be careful because he don't want to get caught up with these guys. It is a car park today at Brands Hatch.
Absolutely. That's Andrew Bedell with Seamus Power tucked in behind him. Henry Schweibig. Wow, Schweibig taking Jeff Drake taking it very deep on Schweibig as Seamus Power just watching it his rearview mirror as these drivers go by. A very deep Alec Campbell through the first turn. Look at these drivers just try and navigate through the hairpin. Like you said, it's a car park out there today, and now they're trying to go by Ian Haycox. My goodness, the GTP's taking some very deep lunges into the corner as they try and get by these GTOs.
There is a spinner at Timothy Reed. Timothy Reed had a moment. He's had a spin around at Surtees, and I believe that was just on his own. He just locked up a bit too much speed. Now, Alec Campbell, what can he do? These drivers are just trying to battle on. He holds off from Ricciardi. He's trying to catch up to Javier Sanchez, but it's so tough. Sanchez up ahead of him, heading sweep, is also there. They're getting held up in these sections. Talked about it at the start of the race. The slow GTO lines, the fast GTP line. Something has to give, and you just have to wait to make these moves out here today, and you start to see Dustin Hirota. He's looking up. He's looking at his relative. He's probably looking at his stream as well. He's in a P4 right now, +6 for the day. He wants to keep his eyes behind on Jack Wells, who is trying to make up time, but he also wants to get onto that podium with Himamaki right in front of him.
We knew attrition was going to be bad today, but we're currently 8 cars down. We've lost Genesis Williams, Emilio Dakari, Ove Trangrate, Nick Bakanos, Togo Hasada, Ray Farlow, Dylan Freckleton, and Yari Brewpatcher as well. Josh Brain and Christoph Lesniak just had an issue in the GTOs. They're both parked at the side of the road, so even more attrition starting to hit for these drivers. This track really, really tight right now.
Yeah, Matteo Johnson in the GTP just had a bit too much of a speed difference, went into the back of one GTO. He spun around there with nowhere for Lesniak to go. Such a tough race. You think about it for Friesen and Lesniak, it's really good there. Another car's gone by. It's Jack Burgers. Just I was looking at that. They're really struggling out there today because some of these drivers you shouldn't expect to see at the back. Some of these drivers you shouldn't expect to see at the front so early. That's Valenteus. He's P9. He's plus 16 today, Adam. He's about to be plus 10 for the day. If he can make a move here on Martioli, he's unable to because look at that traffic. That's traffic for P19 just going by him.
If I'm Andres Valenteus up 16 on the day and I'm looking at the clock and it says 30 minutes left, it's been 10 minutes, I'm thinking to myself, I got all the time in the world. I don't need to push Martioli at all. I don't need to get into an accident here. I'm just going to let this GTP figure out where he's going to go, and then I'm going to make my move later. Andres Valenteus very calmly just plowing his way through the field right now. It looks like Matteo Johnson, he's in the pits as well, so another incident for a GTP runner out there. The driver's really struggling with this track. I know that Brands Hatch is a challenge. I would have expected, with it being such a well-known track and one that's been on the service for a long time, as we see Andres Valenteus go for the move, that the drivers would be more ready for this. But Yuo Reina actually has gone to the pits now from our lead pack as well. He was the driver who got into that contact with Jack Wells early on. He's now hit the pits.
Yeah, this is the Lesniak crash. Doug Cloud just went round it as well, got hit by a GTP. Now, that is the Matteo Johnson spin. Nowhere for that Lesniak can go. He cannot see that car until the very last moment. And Yuno Reina, as you were saying, he was our pole sitter today. And out of nowhere, he is now nowhere to be had. Massive damage to the rear. Did he catch even more damage, I wonder, if we're watching Medell? No, just a lot of issues there from Reina. He decided against it. Medell got past Lars Olsen with, I believe, a move coming down into Hawthorne. He's now up to 7th, really showing that race pedigree. Not a good qualifier. He'll hit me for that, but he is a really good race pace driver.
Absolutely, and the lead of the GTO is also very tight between Noah Lundberg and Jorn Van Hicks right now. Jorn Van Hicks chasing Lundberg, and they've got a very just a very unsure Michelle Rogenbrick who just went by. So unfortunately, that has cleared them out. Now they're going to have Andre Felipe Diaz coming up as well, and Javier Del Olmo is only half a second behind, as well as Jack David Spickett only half a second behind Del Olmo. So this top 4 not very separated at all, and they've got to be careful because charging Andreas Valenteus is catching up to Ian Haycox for 6th position and should make a move fairly easily. Taking a look at Doug Cloud in his replay, this is something that just happened. Absolutely pile driven by a GTP.
Yeah, that is a case of, I think there's room there, but you know, Adam, I know, Adam, other drivers know, you have to take a wide line into the paddock hill bend sometimes. And the GTP, because he's got the downforce, he doesn't need to, just expects a door open there. Doug's always closing that door. It may be a bit of a sliding door to the outside patio, but it was still a door that had to be closed, and that was unfortunate there. Valenteus now up to P6, getting past Haycock. He's P6 though, Adam. Here's the key thing. He's 12.5 seconds behind. That's quite a big gap, though, at this stage of the race.
Yeah, but at the same time, Valenteus has been lapping in the 122.6s to the leader's 123 flats. So he's doing 0.4 of a second faster per lap. As we take a look at second position, this is Farron Grau and Ardo Iamaki battling in the GTPs. And they're in the thick of the back of the GTO traffic as well. This is the most unpredictable part of the race for them as they try and get by.
Yeah, and they get past Lesniak. Lesniak has the expertise in slower classes, so he knows what to do when it comes to multiclass. Lots of gravel on that racing line there for Sterlings. Did not realize that. So that's going to affect their Grau having a bit of an issue getting held up from Mickey Friesen, who's in P15 today. That's rare. Got the speed. Ihamaki's going to have to try and just around the outside of Paddock Hill, and there are GTOs up ahead. Something's got to give, and Farron Grau goes too fast. He goes into the back of Max Wheeler, and he takes out Ihamaki as well. That's a big mistake there, and all of a sudden, you're not going to believe this, Adam, that put Jack Wells back up to P2.
Yeah, that move with the GTOs there, that late break absolutely was never going to happen. So Jack Wells says, thank you very much, and moves up to P2, 8 seconds behind. Honestly, that's a surprise. That kind of a move is a little bit of a surprise, but Brands Hatch catching these drivers out again.
Catching them out again, and that's not a typo. Andrew Medell now up into P4, Brendan Lim up into 5th. with those moves. Great driving out there today, just from Medel, just from Wet Limb. This is the battle of attrition. We talk about the battle of attrition usually when it comes to, you know, the GTOs. For the GTPs, that's Seamus Power. He's up 12 places today. Now he's overtaken Lars Olsen. Really working hard out there today as he still had to go for this defense, had to go for this attack as well. Working well. This is the track. I bet if Seamus comes into the broadcast, he'll say, no, it's not one of my favorites. But it's safe to say I think it is.
11 cars out so far this race. That is a high number, even with 55 drivers out here today. Just a lot of GTPs taking a lot of deep lunges. We've been saying it for 3 weeks, Craig. They can't keep doing this, and yet they do, and they end up in the garage.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone wants to take that they can't keep getting away with this meme and like AI Photoshop Mia Adams' face on it, but that's what's going to happen at the moment, because there is some battle of attrition out there. There is some respect to be given. Some of these drivers are not naming names, and they know themselves because it's a tight community. They need to give that respect, especially now you've got 55 cars. Some of these drivers aren't experienced in this community or aren't experienced in the multi-class aspect that the IMSA Vintage gives, and I think that is also throwing a lot of the drivers out today.
But what's interesting is that a lot of the drivers making the biggest mistakes are the ones who've been here for a while. So it's just surprising to me to see that. We see Nick Mecanos separating Noah Lundberg and Joram Van Hicks right now, the two leaders of the GTOs. Noah Lundberg is trying to hang on to that lead with Joram Van Hicks tight in behind. They've gapped Javi Del Olmo by about a second. Del Olmo also has Jack David Spickett in for company behind him. These GTO drivers are looking at the clock and they're thinking 24 minutes more of this. I got to just hang on and survive. I don't think we're going to see a lot of moves at the front of the field, but this is not the front of the field. This is Mickey Friese trying to make a move on Max Wheeler on his recovery drive today.
This is Mickey, and Mickey, I see what you're doing with the camera. I know you've been joking about it. I see what you're doing. He is the gear stick has not changed. Oh, wait, mistake from Lundberg. Mistake from Lundberg. Was that a blown engine?
No, it was a misshift from Lundberg, and he couldn't get it back in for a while. He's lost the lead to Van Hicks, and now he's tucked in behind Jack David Spickett and Javier Del Olmo. Lundberg just misshifting, coming through the left-hander. Unfortunately, drops it back into this battle. But fortunately for Lundberg, Joram Van Hicks loses his drafting partner, and this puts Del Olmo, Jack David Spickett, and Noah Lundberg right into his tire tracks, and this should allow them to gain time on Van Hicks, and it's going to be a four-way fight for the lead. Oh, Del Olmo takes it a little bit too deep, and we have the battling Jack Wells trying to get by with Dustin Hiroder up ahead. Jack lost the second position to Dustin this lap, so lots going on over the course of this race so far.
Right, so we know what Del Olmo can do. We know what JDS can do. We know that JDS will probably just stay behind Javier like he has been. That's partly due to, can he keep up with Javier? Yes. Can he keep up and let Javier keep the lead in this pack? Yes. They need to find a second and a half working together now. So those mistakes that Del Olmo was just having, that meant that JDS had to take a line, that can cause a little bit of issues and even more hold up there. I don't know if we just caught that on the camera. That was Lundberg giving a little tap to JDS, basically going, yeah, we need a little bit more speed out there today. That is what is needed out there. They need Javier to just I wouldn't say get a move on, but just keep that pace up. Would not be surprised if Noel sees this later, a couple laps later, and decides, I need to get ahead of these two.
A couple laps is going to be too late. They're losing the draft to Joram Van Hicks. They currently have Carl Glover tucked in between them. Carl Glover a couple laps down at this point. Henning Schweibig just made a move on Jeff Drake for 8th position in the GTPs. Look at this. Del Olmo deep to the inside. A little bit of contact there between JDS. JDS saw his opportunity, and he's going to take it. And Del Olmo bumps him a couple times, saying no thank you. Noah Lundberg has the apex taken away and misshifts again. Noah Lundberg's going to lose the draft now to Del Olmo as they have the battle for 4th position in the GTPs, which is very tight. Streaking by them, 4th place is Medel, Lim, Power, and Olsen, all battling for that spot in the GTPs. Olsen held up by Javier Del Olmo. He's going to lose a position to Henning Schweibig and Jeff Drake, who are battling for 7th, and they're not part of that pack too. Look at this, they're on the outside for Seamus Power. Can't get it done on Brendan Lim, or can he?
I don't think he can get it done. Late braking, he gets it done. That moment there with Lundberg, a little bit of Lundberg's fault there. He caught the grass when trying to brake and turn into Medell. Medell had to take the line. The line was there to make, unable to do it. You also see Laus Olsen having a little bit of a battle with Jeff Drake as well. We're heading Swede as well in that little battle up in the picture all to play for. Van Hicks, he has quite a bit of a lead now. Lundberg is trying to catch back up. This is Seamus Power still battling on. He's 12 for the day, plus 12 for the day. He wants to try and make it plus 13. Gonna have to try and go for it. This man, he's made it plus infinity. He's plus 19 for the day with that overtake on Gamak. Gamak does have the inside. I don't know how much he's going to try and fight this. He will try to do this, but Van Hicks is just so talented. He cuts it off around the outside. He holds it. He's P5. He's plus 20 for the day.
Valenteus up to P5, and he's got probably about still 10 seconds to Van Hicks, but he's made up 5 of those 15 that he was behind so far. He's got 20 minutes left to go. He's got a lot of traffic to deal with, but if there's anyone who could pull this off, it is Audris Valenteus.
It's Valenteus, and it is one of those that you just keep an eye on. Actually, when I first started talking to him, remember I said he was 12 seconds behind? Yeah, he's gained a second while also making positions up there. Seamus Power just losing a bit of time there to a GTO. That was Hark. And that allows Laus Olsen and heading Swede to catch up to it. So it's a 4-car battle, elongated 4-car battle now for P5. And that's going to breathe a sigh of relief to Medell. He can now keep eyes forward. And that's what really Brendan Lim wants to do right now. He wants to try and keep his eyes right forward. There is a spun GTO up ahead. Gets on going. Did cause a bit of an issue, though, from Medell, I think.
Yeah, this was contact with Tom Smith getting into Mika Tupla and just... a little bit too much speed from Tom Smith, and Tom decided to take tow. Mika Tupla is going to continue going, but yet another incident there. You saw it in the replay. Just took it a little bit too deep on the brakes and made contact, and Tom decided to take the tow. Mika in the GTO decided to continue. So we continue watching this battle for 7th position. Laus Olsen, Henrik Schwebig, and Jeff Drake as they're battling it out for 7th. In the lead of the race, Jacob Reed has been the only driver to not have a significant contact with someone in the top 3 who started this race. Dustin Heroder's now in 2nd position, but he's 11 seconds behind. Still gaining just a little bit, but Jacob Reed absolutely rapid out there today.
Yeah, absolutely crazy just to see that Jacob Reed took that lead after being P4, got the lead early, and fantastic out there. This is Josh Brain keeping an eye on what he's doing. Again, it's crazy to think this is Josh Brain having a battle against Martin Krajcik. It's for 13th position. Usually they're battling for like 8th, 9th position. They're right in that top 10, but with just the pedigree out there today, the absolute mental hurdles out there today, it's very tough. And Mickey Friesen, I saw a black flag for Mickey Friesen.
Yeah, Mickey Friesen and Pablo Rangel making contact. Actually, Pablo gets a little bit of a bump from a GTP, and that from Nick McConnell, believe it or not. And that sends him around, and then Mickey Friesen made contact with Pablo, and he might have gotten a DNF. I could be wrong about that, but here's the replay.
I think it's a meatball flag, actually, Adam, when you look at it right now, because the hood comes up, and that's a lot of damage on that hood. That's going to be causing probably some suspension damage. Would not be surprised. This has not been the race for him as well. And I've just seen Alex Campbell. Looks like he's just had a hardware failure from P11. And that looks like he's out as well. So we're seeing, yeah, he's actually, I think he may have even blown his engine out.
Yeah, it was an engine failure, not a hardware failure for him. So unfortunately, a money shift for Alec Campbell puts him out of the race. Here's Josh Brain right on the back of Martin Krajcik. These two have been battling for most of the day. There's Alec Campbell, and you can see the puff of smoke out the back of him as he comes into the hairpin. Nothing doing for him. He's going to have to take a tow and try and get that thing repaired. Matthew Cockrum and Ilka Kodasalo. Kodasalo with his bad qualifying. He's still trying to improve positions out there. He's up 6 on the day. But look at this. Doug Cloud and Ian Haycox. These two have been good battling bedfellows when it comes to racing here in the IMSA Vintage Series. And Doug still stout on the defense there. 9th position for Doug Cloud right now. He makes that move on Ian Haycox.
And he slid the back of that car out like a Zamboni. It's Zamboni time. He's embraced the memes, and he is really doing it there. The veterans having a bit of a scrap. Real good, respectful racing between the two of them. He gets past Ian Haycock. And now that just is now starting to work for him. Interesting point here, Adam. We started with 28 GTPs. We have 14 of them on the same lap. We started with 27 GTOs. We have 19 of them on the lead lap. Really is a battle of attrition out there, but the track is still so spread out. I can't find a clean space of track for anyone at the moment.
No, and there are still battles going on all over the track. This is one of them. Javier Del Olmo and Noah Lundberg. Lundberg trying to make his recovery drive. He was up there battling for the lead, but had a couple of missed shifts. He's now back onto the back of Javier Del Olmo. Jack David Spickett has run up the road and is now in the tire tracks of Joram Van Hicks. Javier Del Olmo just does not look comfortable out there today, Craig. He's been locking up. He's been missing apexes. The man just looks like he does not have a grip on this track, and I can kind of say the same for most of the drivers out here, given the mistakes that we've seen.
Yeah, it's a weird one out here today, because you see with this Hemming Sweep as well, he's trying to keep alive in this GTP battle with Lars Olsen. These drivers have really struggled out here today. I know the elevation changes are really tough. Javier, this isn't a track that Javier has driven in a GTP, remember. He spent a year almost in the GTP. He's come back to the GTO. You wouldn't think this is an issue with understanding the track that way. This really is just a case of not picking up the moment, not picking up the right reference points. And again, it's a cold track out there today. You can't factor in the heat. This is just a question of, do you know what you're doing out there? That's not an insult. It's more, do you know what you're doing out there? Are you confident enough to know what you're doing?
Nice run through the left-hander for Lundberg. He's going to try and get a run on the outside. A little bit of contact there, and he's going to steer back into Del Olmo, try and drag him a little bit to make sure he doesn't lose too much time. Lundberg hanging on there with Del Olmo, not giving him that much room.
Not giving them room, and respectfully, he doesn't need to give the room. They're almost on the inside there, so he's managed to hold it as well. And let's just see what he's able to do here. Wide goes Del Olmo. Is that an opportunity for Lundberg? No, he gets takes a bit too much speed off into the Druid's hairpin, so not able to do much out there today. I want to keep an eye on something. Remember we were talking about Andrew Medell? He had a comfortable gap to Brendan Lim. Well, as I said that, he had a small moment with a GTO, and now he's only a second ahead of Brendan Lim. So keep an eye on that battle, like we're keeping an eye on this with Heading Sweep.
Yeah, absolutely. Sweep trying to make a move on Laust Olsen. Has not been able to get by for the last couple of laps. Jeff Drake absolutely destroys Marty Ollie into the corner. So Jeff Drake now is going to fall back with a little bit of front end damage as Marty Ollie tries to recover. But here's Hennig trying to make that move on Laust Olsen. Laust defensive to the inside, able to hang on to it.
Another one bites the dust, and now this is where Hennig can't really make any moves there unless there's a mistake from Laus. But nothing to go. Jeff Drake's gone around in the background, though. He's had a moment out there as well. It looks like he's been caught out. Another driver caught out from the bumps. In fact, it was indeed the bumps of Westfield. Claims another GTP out there today.
Absolutely. So Jeff just trying to recover and trying to get his head back underneath him. We take a look at Noah Lundberg, who's tucked in behind Javier Del Olmo. This is one of the... Oh! What is...
Jack
went around.
He went too wide. Remember we were talking about how, Doug, you have to take a wider line into the first corner down into Paddock Hill. Yeah, he went a bit too wide. He caught the gravel and he's lost control. He's trying to fight on back, and he's all the way down into 5th position now. And I was looking because that was on track for a first broadcast victory if he could get past Van Hicks.
So unfortunately for Jack, just a little bit too wide into turn 1. He caught the gravel and dragged him back out there. And then now we have Henrik Schreiber trying to make the move on Laust Olsen again. This time he's got the inside, and this time Laust can't hold it around the outside. They're catching up to 3rd and 4th. Del Olmo and Lundberg, they should be able to get by before the next set of quick turns. So yeah, Schreiber gets by. Does Laust get by? No, he gets stuck in between them. But Del Olmo took the corner wide enough that he's able to streak by. So Laust out from in between those two, but he's lost about half a second. But that has actually opened the door up for Noah Lundberg, who's going to try and make a run. Once again, looking to the outside, but he knows that Javier pinches that outside line, so he tries to do an over-under here. Here comes Xavier Sanchez up the inside, takes away his line. Noah Lundberg is going to now go to the outside because Del Olmo goes defensive. Really hard to make a pass up the inside here, but he's going to try and do the over-under, and Del Olmo parks it on the apex.
Yeah, he realized what was happening. He had the bargain on the apex. Ricciardi is right here battling Jeff Drake. They're going to have to be careful. And for a moment, Lundberg again tried that over-under. Jack Wells is in a battle right now with Hiroda. In fact, he's overtaken Hiroda. That's what you're seeing in the picture-in-picture, but we're keeping eyes on this battle. Del Olmo and Lundberg continues to battle on. What can they give? More cars coming on by. That Drake and Ricciardi. They spin around again, and Lundberg goes into the back, boys. Come on, please.
That's a carbon copy of what happened when Jeff Drake came through last time, but this time it was Davide Ricciardi who makes the contact with Javier Del Olmo instead of with Lundberg. So now Del Olmo and Noah Lundberg have major front end and rear end damage. Del Olmo just trying to hang on now from Jack David Spickett, who's been able to catch up. Jorn Van Hicks is up the road by 7.5 seconds, and guess who's in third?
Is it the number one car that should be 9K? It lost at 9K a few weeks ago. Is it Audrey Valenteus? I think it is. He hasn't even need to overtake these drivers. We talk about how if you're at the back of the field, Adam, you pick up the scraps at the start of the race, the end of the race, you race with those you're meant to race. Well, Valenteus has overtaken everyone he shouldn't.
He did pick up the scraps at the beginning of the race, and then he raced a couple of people who he shouldn't have been racing, and now that he's up to where people should be racing, everyone's just crashing. Jack David Spickett is able to get by Javier Del Olmo, who's down by about 10 miles per hour on the straight, so Javier Del Olmo's going to have a tough race for the rest of this race. And Valenteus is right on the back now of Noah Lundberg, who also has front-end damage from his incident. They're separated by Ilka Kodasalo, who's about to go by. But my goodness, the attrition out here today is something fierce. This is exactly why I talked about the fortitude of Will Craig, because if you get frustrated now, after 3 weeks of chaos, it's going to be tough for you to finish this race strong. 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, we're on board with Hiroda. He's having this battle still with Jack Weld. You see the timing tower as well. But Andrew Medell is in a two-car battle with Power and Lim. In fact, Lim's just lost a lot of time. Back on with Noah Lundberg. Again, we talked about how it's going to be chaotic for our director today. Christian is doing a fantastic job out there. Lundberg is trying to hold off or get up to Valenteus.
No, he lost the position.
Yeah, he lost the position. Sorry,
yeah, Lundberg is down also about 10 miles an hour on the straight, similar to Del Olmo. They both have similar damage, and Valenteus is able to get by. Now he has 9 minutes to make up 8 seconds on Van Hicks. Craig, I think this one he might not be able to do.
9 minutes. Never say never. Never say never, Adam. I thought that last week, and look what happened. He managed to do it. So, and with the battle of attrition out there today, anything can happen. I mean, Van Hicks is the car on his own now. He's not battling anyone. He has to just keep his eyes on who's battling who out there today, because that's going to be the crucial moment, just like this right now, because when he keep an eye on this, he knows now that Seamus Power is battling Andrew Medell. There's also Brendan Lim and Henning Swig right behind him, but this is interesting. Medell's not had the speed ever since a moment down at Hawthorne with a GTO, and this is going to be very tight now. I don't think it's the case he's down on top speed. I just feel that Medell has not had the best of traffic.
No, Medell has not had the best of traffic. He's been struggling to navigate how thick the traffic has been out here. We have 2 drivers up ahead. That's Krzysztof Olesniak and Alton Hark, both of them very slow. They're going to give up the inside. Well, almost give up the inside. Seamus Power has to push Alton Hark away, as he'd already committed to the inside by the time that Alton Hark turned towards the apex. But Seamus, a little bit of side damage, but that's not going to be a problem for him. He's caught up to Medell, who struggled to get past Olesniak. And so now it's a straight shot between Power and Medell as they head down the straight, and they're going to try, let's see whether or not Power has enough overspeed to get a move. Not quite this time, but he's putting pressure on Medell again.
Yeah, the pressure is on Medell. They come down Pilgrim Drop into Hawthorne. They go. Derek Milton into Westfield now. And now you can see Medell really working that car. Earlier in the week, he was having a lot of issues slowing that car down through those corners. Got it under control now and really uses all the space. Does he get held up from Kraytrick? Not on purpose, of course, by Kraytrick, but just a speed difference. He does. Kraytrick didn't know which way to go. That's a little bit of a lift there for Medell. That won't affect him. But now you look up ahead, there's a lap car, there's a lap GTO, there's also Javier Del Olmo just trying to hold on to whatever positions he can. Picture in picture, you've got him versus Mark Gamak. We're still on board here. Seamus may be able to get a move here, could get a switch back. He's got the momentum. Wide goes Josh Brain. Medell to the defense down into Druids, and that's real good defense there from Medell. How I cursed him. The over-under has not worked though.
Good move from Seamus Power. He slid it a little bit through the hairpin, but couldn't quite get the move done. But Medell, great defense there, and Power, a good opportunity to try and make that move work. They've now got Howie Burrows up ahead of them, a slower GTP, but unfortunately Power has lost a little bit of time to Medell do that slide, got the rear tires a little hot. He's now going to have to fall back, and he's going to have to hope that Burrows and Medell get caught up with the traffic. That is Fabian Jungbluth in 11th position, battling with Ian Haycox in 10th up ahead. That is Burrows who goes through, and Medell does get held up, and here comes Power. He's going to be looking for an opportunity to take advantage of all this lap traffic.
No, you can't make an opportunity here at Sheen. Down the Dingle Dell, little straight, he can't, but he can make it into Sterling, and the traffic's worked for Pat Power, and Medell goes down into P5. He's got to be careful because Lemon Sweep right behind. He is now in the crutches of the danger zone, and that's all started just from the lap traffic. In fact, Seamus getting a little bit of issue from the lap traffic here himself. Seamus is on the brakes and he comes through the traffic. Medell now having to be on the defense, and Lance Olsen caught up into this. Side by side, Sweep and Lim. Sweep gets by Lim. Laus is going to just stay there, and Medell is still there. Oh, lock up with the brakes up ahead for a lap GTP. That's not going to slow any of these down. This is the battle between Cloud and Martioli as well. So you've got battles on battles. Say it with me, Adam. This is IMSA Vintage.
Absolutely, this is classic IMSA Vintage. Vintage IMSA Vintage, you would say. And look at that, that's Doug Cloud going quite wide through that left-hander. We're taking a look at Jack David Spickett, who's trying to hold off Noah Lundberg, who's trying to charge back through. With that damage that he has, he's going to try and get himself up into a podium position as we keep our eyes on Brendan Lim, who's now got Howie Burrows. He's going to have to navigate, and up ahead of them, Schwebig and Medell are battling nose to tail as well. We take a look at them right now.
Take a look at them. There's a bit of traffic up ahead. It's Timothy Reed. That may slow down Medell. This could almost be a carbon copy of what just happened last lap, but he manages to turn in just in time. Thankfully, Sterling's got that little curb on the inside that you can really start to run, and that just allows him to hold on. But this is a really tough battle now for P5. Everybody wants that top 5 spot, Adam, because it gives you a stat on the iRacing stats. You get recorded your top 5, and this is a very important moment right here. Is the traffic going to work for him? We'll wait and see. I think it will. Meanwhile, you look up ahead on that timing tower, ladies and gentlemen, and it is all to play for a lot of positions out there now.
Yeah, and 4.5 minutes to go here for these drivers. There's not a lot of time left to get stuff done. Speaking of time, Andres Valenteus has only gained 1 second since passing Jack David Spickett, so he's not going to get this done unless Joran Van Hicks has an issue, knock on wood. Taking a look here at Schweibig, just trying to hang on to the back of Medell. Oh, Laust Olsen, Brendan Lim actually got held up significantly by Mark Gamick, so Laust Olsen has a good run, but he's not going to be able to get a move done because Brendan Lim was able to create a little bit of a road block from using Mark Gamick a little bit there, so he's able to hang on to that position. But look at this side-by-side between Schweibig and Medell again. And this time, Medell, is he going to try and hang on to it? It's so tight through the corners. And here they go. They're going to be held up by some lap traffic once again. A little bit of contact there, but Medell is able to hold on. And now it's nose to tail for these drivers once again in the danger zone.
Brilliant move from both drivers. Swiebig went around the outside of Westfield. You are not hearing me wrong. Sorry, the outside of Hawthorne. You're not hearing me wrong as the back markers go 3 wide. And then Medell had to go around the outside of Sterling because of the GTO on the racing line. Fantastic battling. More battling going on. Javier Sanchez. He's now in this battle. He's P9. He's now trying to fight. Would you be surprised, sorry, if I told you 11 cars were on the lead lap with the GTP and you're watching 5th down to 9th in a battle with 3 minutes to go?
Absolutely, 3 minutes to go for these drivers. Xavier Sanchez has to hold up and wait for Valenteus in second position. He's still 7 seconds behind Joran Van Hicks. Nothing going to happen today. And look at this, Brendan Lim is they're all trying to close those gaps. They've got more traffic to deal with. This Mika Tupel up ahead that they're going to get by. And then it's free and clear up to Joran Van Hicks, 4 seconds up the road. But that's going to be coming through the left-hander coming out of the forest section. So it's going to be a challenge for these drivers. In 5th position, Medell has started to get away from Schwiebig, who is now lost time down to 1.8 seconds behind. These GTPs trying to make it work. Jacob Reed, believe it or not, is halfway through the forest section himself, so he'll be coming around he probably won't take the white flag this next time around as we look at Brendan Lim, who's absolutely got Laust Olsen right up his 007 cam.
Yeah, on the 007 cam, it is very tight out there. And you may also be able to see other cars there because you see that is Javier Sanchez right behind them as well. So up ahead, is Henning Schrieb. You can't see him in camera. Behind Lars Olsen, Javier Sanchez. You may see those two go for a little bit of a battle down the straight. Not sure that Lim's going to be able to do anything down the straight. Looking up ahead, though, there is a couple of GTOs, non-battling GTOs, but still a couple back markers to get around. Could be very interesting when we come around the danger section of the track once more. And hard they go onto the brake, carries all the speed. You've got to try and find opportunity. Javier Sanchez, that's not a place to make a move, Javier. And unfortunately, the gap's always going to close. And he takes out Lars Olsen. He keeps on driving, but a lot of damage there for Lars.
Yeah, Lars with major rear end damage. He's going to have to try and recover now. Trying to hang on to that 10th position over Jeff Drake, but Jeff is 6.5 seconds back, so that shouldn't be an issue. Brendan Lim still on the back of Henning Schreiber. And looks like Jacob Reed still going through the first couple of corners in the forest section himself. So he's going to just try and survive this final lap. 18 seconds to the good of Jack Wells. So he really can just wait for everyone to get out of his way at this point. Here is Jacob Reed. He will be coming down to the white flag this time by. You can see just how cautious he's being. He lets Noah Lundberg go by. Noah Lundberg has lost his entire hood at this point. So Noel not having a race to remember himself. But Jacob Reed has been almost gifted a victory here, but there's no gifts with 55 cars around this track. We'll get to how many cars DNF'd shortly after we wrap up here. But Jacob Reed, 18 seconds to the good. Joram Van Hicks is going to get passed probably by Jacob Reed this lap, so that'll be his final as well. 5.5 seconds to the good of Andreas Valenteus, and there's a nice battle going on for 9th and through 11th in the GTOs right now as well. We're taking a look at that in the picture-in-picture. Marty Ollie and Doug Cloud. Yeah,
Marty Ollie and Doug Cloud are going on. There's still a battle for P2 in the GTPs as well, as they are battling as well. Jacob Reed may take this too cautiously, and he may get past Valenteus, and he probably won't get past Van Hicks. That could be interesting, one to keep eyes out for. There has been an overtake battle change in the P2 for the GTP, and Jack Wells got held up by some cars going a bit too wide. They're a bit too tight. Jack Wells gets overtaken from Hiroda, who found a gap, goes for it, and Wells tries around the outside of Hawthorne onto the grass. He cannot hold it. Hiroda will hold on, but meanwhile, the leader is coming around the start-finish line.
And Jack Wells goes around, he collects Doug Cloud, wrecks his tire, but Jacob Reed's going to take the win. Doug Cloud is going to go from 9th position all the way back to quite a few positions back. Dustin Hiroder, though, was able to put Jack Wells on his back foot and come home. He's going to take that right-hander as long as he doesn't spin out here, which we have seen today. Dustin Hiroder is going to take 2nd position. What a successful battle for him. Fantastic drive. Joram Van Hicks, I believe, finished the race already. We'll have to take a look at that. But Jack Wells is going to come home in 3rd position and not going to have many friends after this race.
No, Seamus Power, though, he will come home 14th, or for plus 14th, today. Javier Sanchez with a drive to the line with Brendan Lim for P7. Brendan's going to hold on to that real good drive there for Brendan. He's plus 1 for the day. He had to fight hard for that. Javier does get to the first corner before him, then get to the finish line before him. Fantastic. And Johan Van Hicks, not entirely sure. I think he has had to do one more lap. Don't think he got overtaken. He will have the victory regardless. Valenteus did get overtaken, so this is just going to be a little bit of a possession lap here for the man in number 4. But also, without a retirement, without a tow, without a black flag, that is actually Valenteus' first official could not do last the first this season.
Absolutely. So we're going to have to do a little bit of a count on how many DNFs we had. We'll get to that after the GTO grid. But Joram Van Hicks crossing the line, winning this race clean and free and clear for Van Hicks. You can't say that about a lot of the other drivers. But it's going to take us to our results here. And man, this is a storied race. This feels like IMSA Vintage of old a little bit. We have Jacob Reed, who won this race after inheriting the lead after the leaders wrecked out ahead of him. Dustin Hiroder comes home in 2nd position after forcing Jack Wells to make a risky move around the outside. And unfortunately for Jack, getting into Doug Cloud, Jack is going to come home in 3rd. Seamus Power comes home in 4th position ahead of Andrew Bedell. Henrik Schwebig is going to come home in the 6th position with Brendan Lim tucked in behind him, and Xavier Sanchez unable to get past Brendan to finish this race in 7th. Javier comes home in 8th. Lars Olsen in 9th position, and then Jeff Drake down in 10th spot. There's one more driver on the lead lap, and that's Ilka Kodasalo, who started towards the back and was able to stay on the lead lap for the rest of that race. Next driver is Matthew Cockrum with Mikhail Rugenbrink finishing in the 13th position. Then we have Andre Felipe Diaz in 14th, and your first driver 2 laps down is Farron Grau, who had a drive-through due to incident points. Carl Giagrande finishes also 2 laps down, with Howie Burrows also 2 laps down. Those are the last drivers to finish ahead of the GTOs. Then we have Davide Ricciardi. These are all drivers who had incidents and were unable to finish. Davide Ricciardi, Dylan Freckleton, Alec Campbell, Tom Smith, Matteo Johnson, Arda Iomaki, Nick McConis, Yuo Reina, Yari Brubacher, Ray Farlow, and Togo Hisada. That's a lot of drivers who didn't finish, Craig.
Yeah, I don't know if I can match that with the GTOs, but standings will look a little bit weird for the GTOs because Van Hicks did take a lap more than everyone else. He will win the battle after starting P2. He will take that victory. But Valenteus in P2, up 23 places. And Jack David Spickett didn't get the win, but this is a home track for him. He gets the podium with Noel Lundberg in 4th, Mark Gamak in 5th, and Javier Del Olmo in 6th. And then it's Timothy Reed in 7th. Marty Ollie will be plus 6th in 8th. Ian Haycock's 9th, and Fabian Youngblood also plus 6th in 10th. And the second page had more drivers on the same lap as everyone else, as Josh Brain will be 11th, Martin Krajcik 12th. Lesniak, good recovery to 13th after falling to the back after a couple incidents in 13th. John Pettick 14th. Paulo Rangel will be 15th. And then Max Wheeler, the last car on the de facto lead lap. Remember, Van Hicks took an extra lap. He will finish 16th. Then it's Doug Cloud having a couple incidents in the race there, will be down in 17th. Mika Tupelo will be 18th. Henry Vinimaki, 19th. Carl Glover, 20th, another lap down. And we get to the final page. Martin Enrique Rivert is the first what I can see retiree. Aslan Hark, another retiree. Mickey Friesen was in the trenches today, as was Jack Burgess and Emilio Dicciari. Ove Trengarade did not get the best of luck out there today, and neither did Genesis Williams. 55 cars. That's what you get at Brands Hatch there, Adam.
Absolutely. And we had a lot of drivers out there today. A lot of DNFs. There were 12 DNFs, I believe, total out there today for these drivers. But if the drivers thought that this was a big grid, 55 cars, the largest grid in Daytona, this year's Daytona 24 was 61 cars. So different track, though, and Seamus Power knows all about that. Coming home in 4th position. Seamus, those last 10 minutes in that pack from 4th on down to 7th position, that must have been an intense race out there for you.
Oh yeah. Pretty... Well, I guess I should have expected 55 cars at Brands Hatch to be insanity, and it was. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, honestly. This is kind of what the peak of the series is, with this many cars around a tight track. But yeah, I tried to drive as clean as possible, and I think, given my really lacking of qualifying pace, that helped me out at the end of the day.
Your slowest lap was a 1:15 flat. That was on lap 15, just with all the traffic that was going on there. What do you think? Where were the hardest corners to judge the traffic to? Not necessarily to overtake, but just to know where the GTOs were going.
Honestly, it wasn't. I wouldn't really point to any particular corner on track where that's the case. Like, I feel like pretty much every corner here, there's a fairly clean point or clear point when the Audis are going to turn in. So either when you need to take the inside from them before that point, or when they're going to track out wide. I feel like that is pretty clear given how sort of tight the circuit is. I think the real trouble was a lot of given the split size, there were quite a lot of Audis that either weren't familiar with the track or the car, or I guess maybe even the series, and yeah, they were really unpredictable. So I was lifting quite heavily into a lot of especially the fast corners, of course, trying to gauge whether or not they were going to take the corner regularly, or whether or not they were going to either, try and let me by or anything like that. So like I said earlier, just taking it sort of as cautiously as possible with a lot of these Audis seems like it really helped me out, and got me through a lot of it.
Well, we've had 3 weeks of, 2 weeks of bull rings and one that felt like a bull ring. Next week we head to Silverstone. Do you think that this is going to feel like a bull ring as well, or do you feel like the drivers are more used to that track and the traffic won't cause as much of an issue?
I think it'll be a little bit better, yeah. I guess, as always, it depends on how big the broadcast split gets. But I think we're running regular Silverstone, so not the historic one, which I prefer the historic one. It feels a bit better to me, and the sort of the track is, I think, a lot more fun to drive. But I think the changes for the modern GP circuit do make it a lot more kind of conducive to, let's say, like more safe class interactions. But we'll see. You know, there's always a chance with this series, as today shows, and how many people were unfortunately either crashed or ended up going way behind what they qualified at.
Well, still a great race today and a good finish for you, P4. Anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, thanks again to everyone in the community. Super fun race. I think today I was still using a set that Andreas has kindly shared with the community. So again, huge props to people that do that. I definitely don't have the time or patience to tune my own setups. And then, yeah, of course, thanks again to the broadcast. It's been fantastic watching everything back, and I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, this one, we're just catching our breath at this point, but thanks for joining us, Seamus. P4 in the GTPs today. And that is going to do us for this broadcast. We want to give a big thank you to the team today, Craig, Christian, and Dougie. And make sure to check out our social media website and merchandise store so you don't miss a moment here. And also, don't forget to subscribe, because that will make sure that you don't miss any of the moments here for IMSA Vintage or any of the other races. And speaking of which, going on right now on GSRC next week for this series is Silverstone GP. We just mentioned it. 40 minutes out there. That's February 15th at 12 p.m. Eastern. And going on right now actually is PT Autosport. So definitely click on our GSRC badge below where it says live and tune in over there for some more iRacing action. You can also see the other races that are about to come up here on GSRC. But we hope you've enjoyed joining us today as much as we've enjoyed bringing this racing to you. We hope you catch your breath. We will too. And we hope to see you back again soon. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.